parts.
Well, hello, Internet. I actually did see there's some folks waiting in the chat earlier, so thanks for tuning in from the beginning. I guess being really stupid late was helpful today. I am, of course, Matt Reese of the show in terms of the first guy to set it up. With me to my extreme east there is Matt Gibson coming to us from Maryland.
Hey.
We're also today joined for the entirety of the stream by two comic creator companions. Not that they make a comic together, but they're with us this evening. We've got and we have some old man
some old metalhead
who's doing the Thrashers comic.
Yes, good evening.
So how was everybody tonight?
Pretty good. I'm tired as shit, though.
Yeah, tired, long day of work.
That was yesterday for me. I was working on school, like from getting up to going to bed. So it's exhausting.
So how is school treating you there, Matt?
It's pretty good right now. One bummer, though, recently is that I was working on a paper for a class, and I was so proud of it, and then I realized that I was not doing things properly. But it was like, by the time I had realized that, it was actually Danielle who pointed it out to me. When I was like, I feel pretty happy about my paper. She's like, okay, show me. I sent it to her, and she's like, this is good, but the assignment asked for this, and I had to be up for class in like 5 hours.
When you go to the Gapers and you say get
and I was not going to be staying up all night, but I still managed to pull a decent grade out of it.
The Gapers doing it or not? The next screen,
pretty good.
The seating chart and everything.
Yeah.
My mic muted for a second. Let's go on ahead, and I want to hear a little bit about Thrashers. Can you go ahead and give me the elevator pitch for it?
The elevator pitch for Thrashers. All right, you've got it's set back in the 1980s in Northern California. Again, you've got Mikey and his buddy Carlos. They're longtime friends. You have Carlos's girlfriend Maria, Mikey's date for that evening Dee, and they meet up with their buddy Rocky and Brian, and they're attending the concert of their favorite band called Celtica. And as the concert begins and the band hits the stage, the aliens decide, hey, this is the perfect time to invade. Going on at that same time, at McMaster Army Depot, Sergeant Lee, the chief mechanic at the motor pool, and his misfit group of grease monkeys are finishing up a week and looking for a good bit of R&R for the weekend. And as they're getting ready to start their R&R, the aliens invade, and from then on, it's a run, try and survive, and eventually let's start killing these things and get back into it. So
this so far is sounding like the back of a VHS case for like an awesome 80s movie. So you're definitely going in there, or like an 80s B movie. Like you're definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of the B movies that we would go to see, like midnight movies. You get thrown in there, and I took a lot of I'm a big alien sci-fi guy, so I like all the alien movies, Predators, Starship Troopers, anything that had alien in it, I'm watching, even if it's some movies that are so bad that they're good.
So like a whole Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What do you think about that one?
Oh, it was so bad that it was good.
I never actually watched that one because the designs weirded me out, but it's also been years since I've even considered it.
Yeah. It's a weird picture. It's not entirely bad, but it's also like, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it was probably like one of the first blockbuster movies I ever got, and I was like, what, 6, 7, 8 years old? Yeah, my parents let me watch anything.
So you guys get all this crazy stuff. Oh, do you remember, speaking of it, people are talking about this lately because it's in Captain Marvel, but Blockbuster was a thing.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of a cool experience. Like, I know that it's definitely obsolete now because of all the technology that's come along, or the technology that's come along. But it was actually kind of a cool. It's really cool. The really cool experience as a kid to go in there. You have all these video games and movies and candies. I know, it was magical.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been to Blockbuster so many times, I can't even count, and I can agree. You know, you got the popcorn bowls. The popcorn bowls were like incredible. You know,
And let's say hi, we've got Comic Girl Ava in the chat, Eric Breen, Retrographic Books.
Hang on, I got something else playing weird in my background.
yeah, I hear a loop going in. I think.
Hang on just a second, guys. I'm going to mute my audio and see if I can't figure this out.
Okay.
So you won't hear I can't hear any of you at the moment. So we'll go ahead and see if I can't figure out what's going on. So it stops happening. Oh my goodness sakes. Yeah, okay. Please. I'm gonna come back and you guys get to hear the noises I make when I think. So
okay.
Gears turning or what?
No, I make a doodly dee noises when I'm trying to process stuff. So little snatches of melody. Okay, let me hear. Does that sound right? Can you only hear one person?
Yep, sounds good.
Oh, good.
I actually have a question for Mr. Thrashers himself. Is this like a one-off story, or is this like a continuous series that you're planning on doing?
I'm planning on doing probably a continual series after this first graphic novel gets done.
You should do it, or I mean, I know this is none of my business, but like I think it'd be pretty cool if you did in like seasons, and like it's like the like the second one's or the second run is called like Thrashers Ride Again, or something like that. You know, you kind of keep it coming back, and it keeps building on top of itself with its craziness.
Yeah, the idea behind it is the first book is called Thrashers and it's subtitled Symphony of Destruction. And the gist of what I want to do is after that, each chapter is going to be somehow titled after an old metal song I used to listen to. So
I'm upset that this is just me talking about being obsessed with Guns N' Roses, but it's I'm reminded of Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah, so so I've probably got about another 100 and I've got another 62 pages paneled out and broken down to the panels and about halfway scripted, and I've got about another 160 pages of just general ideas for those. So
are you doing all of the chores on it? The art, the dialogue, the layouts, the colors, the whole shebang, or have you got a team?
No, I wish I was that talented. I'm the writer, so I got the idea was mine, and the script and all the dialogue is going to be mine. And when I first started to look into this and started heavily investing in it, I started looking for an artist, and after stumbling through a couple, I landed on Jose Paris, and his art just blew me away. So I had him do a couple little character development stuff, and he just out of the blue sent me this random picture, and when I saw that picture, I was just like, yeah, here, dude, let's come to agreement, let's do a contract, and I want you to start this book. So
one of the fun things about the designs is they really feel like there was a subtext of liner notes art back in the 80s that was a little bit comic booky, and a little bit punk rock, a little bit metal, and I think that his art seems to capture that spirit really, really well.
It does. When I first started, he started turning in pages. Every time the first few pages that he sent me is like, this guy, he's in my brain because everything that he drew was exactly how I was seeing it coming out on the panel. So it was just like, I just sent him email after the first few pages came in. I'm like, dude, you're in my head. You're seeing this is beautiful. And there, so he's been drawing it since probably about the beginning of the year. And once he got some pages in, I started looking for a colorist, and just happened upon Rodrigo Ibanez on Twitter. He'd throw a tweet out there saying he was a colorist and a letterer, and he would be offering services for this amount. So I sent him a tweet back in December, told him about the project, and he's like, sure, I'm on board. So I told him it'd probably be a month or so before I got any pages to him, and he was like, sure, I'll be waiting for you to send them to me. So doing pages, and I have Eric Weathers doing the letters for me. Signed him up probably way back in November, and just kept trying to keep him keep him interested in the project, and he's down with it. He's a metal guy, metalhead too. So I got a good team behind me, and you know they're making the visuals of my crazy mind come to life. So
yeah, Rodrigo is a heck of a guy. His color work is just impeccable. So
yeah, it is. It is. There's 90% of the time stuff he turns in, we don't do anything with it. There's just been a couple things we've had to tweak here and there, just for basically a lack of description on my part on the page. So
is this your first comic project?
Yes, it's my first comic project. It's something that I've wanted to do. I mean, I've been reading comic books for about 40 years, and it's something that I wanted to do for a long time. And that the day and the time that we live in now is just a time that there's a lot more. You have a lot more access to people. You have a lot more access to artists and colorists and everybody that gets this stuff done. You don't have to flip through the yellow pages and start calling phone numbers. You can just click on a link and start chatting to people. So it's the right time for me, at the age of 50 to finally get this done.
Yeah, looking at it. As much destruction that social media has brought to our discourse and really to our mental health, because a lot of people have talked about how they think that the increase in anxiety and depression comes from being constantly connected to online and being afraid of other people and what they think, and a multitude of other things. But we've also come with so many blessings have come with the internet. Like we wouldn't be able to do this right now if things were back. If we were back in the 80s, we may have a radio show if we all lived in like the same area, but even then, that'd be much harder to put together than this.
Yeah, a cable access show.
Well, yeah, you're talking exactly. I mean, this back when I remember just you had if you're lucky, you had six networks, to choose from, 6 channels, and they all went off the air at midnight. So hey.
That was something my mom told me about a lot, that sometimes kids will get in trouble from cable and onwards because they stayed up watching TV all night. But before then, if you went if you wanted to watch something, if you turned the TV on, there'd be nothing on. Like at a certain point in the night, they played I think it was like the Star Spangled Banner or something, I'm not quite sure.
Exactly, it was.
And it just and then it just cut out, and that was it for TV that night.
I remember even growing up in rural America, there was a station that when it went off air, it played an hour of radio because it was owned by a same conglomerate that owns some local radio stations. So they just broadcast the radio feed over the television waves for an extra hour of advertising. But anyway, so when it comes to this, the book Thrashers, is this a story you've had in your mind and in your heart for a long time, or is that something that has come to you through the years that you finally decided now it's ready?
It's something that's been brewing for a while, in many different forms. It wasn't always an alien type adventure, but it's been something that I always knew if I was going to write something, I wanted to write something that I was familiar with. And the 80s was a big part of my life growing up. And I was always said I want to write something about the past, and I don't want to really deal with any type of the present or the future. I'm not one of those type of guys. And then I'm a big metalhead, so I had the 80s going for me, the metalheads, and a love of sci-fi. So I just kind of started working them slowly all together, and at the end of that little journey, there was a few months, out plopped Thrashers.
Now, when it comes to this being kind of a reference to all the things that you love, the 80s and B movies, and you talk a lot about the alien films, which have a lot of gore in them, how much gore will be in Thrashers?
It's not going to be overly gory. You're not going to see any exploding heads or any exploding bodies. There will be some blood and some suspense, and that's the way I wanted to build it around, is more of like a kind of a tribute to the old horror movies and the old sci-fi movies, where it was more suspenseful in the realm of what's going to happen and what's going on. And, there will be some blood and there will be some gore, but nothing overly graphic.
Okay.
I wanted to make it friendly for, you know, for all, not for all ages, but I wanted to make it friendly for a wider audience than just maybe.
Yeah, kind of like a PG-13 rating, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that's about that's a good choice.
I don't know. An 80s PG-13 is still pretty racy.
Yeah.
Yes. I was watching Airheads the other day, and I was surprised about that. That was, of course, what, 93 that came out. But anyway,
Yeah.
So I thought you were
it had content. Let's say that. When it comes to the was there a particular incident or event that like sparked that you said, now this is the time to really begin, or what was that?
Yeah, it was back in the middle of last year. At the end of June, I lost my mom. She was like 81 years old. And 3 months after that, I lost my brother, who was only like 56. And those were the two people in my life that always pushed me to write. They were always saying, you need to write more, you need to write, you need to write. And I had written a lot of stuff, but I never finished anything. I would write, 20 pages of a story, and then put it for a little while, and then lose interest in it. And then, a couple months later, write another 10, 15 pages of something and lose interest in it. And I said, after losing my mom and my brother, I said, you know what, I'm going to finish something, and this is going to be for them. And I've just been plugging away at it in pretty much every day since then. And if it's not writing it, it's making sure that I'm communicating with the artists and the colorer and the letterer, and out there tweeting and posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook and doing all kinds of stuff to make sure this gets done. But that was what finally put my put the heat to my feet and fire behind me, and that I'm 100% behind this getting done, even if it takes the next 2, 3, 4 years. It doesn't matter.
That's exactly how I feel about my own projects. And I feel like I do talk about my ambitions and my dreams of being a cartoonist quite a bit for somebody who doesn't actually have a lot posted. But this whole like indie comics movement and this community is really kind of giving me hope again to create. And it makes me so happy that I finally get to do this. Even if it's not going to be my career, even if it's going to take a while, like I feel happy working on it.
Exactly. It's just every day there's just, there's something that I'm thankful for, whether it's getting a piece of art back from Jose, or me going over the script and, brushing up the dialogue. And, it's every day I'm just thankful that I've gotten a whole bunch of people behind me to help this project come to fruition. Loads of support from people on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and my wife's been incredible, supporting me 100%. There's times where we're just out walking through the store and see her stop behind me, and she's talking about my comic book to somebody that she just bumped into and started talking to. So she's been there 120% of the support from her, and my kids have been behind me. So it's been an amazing ride, and it's just something that you gotta you can't take a day off from it, because it's kind of
it definitely requires you to keep up with it.
Yeah, that's something that you got to keep on top of every day, because you can't miss that opportunity to broaden your audience and your viewer base.
So how close are you guys to getting funded on this?
Not not very close at all. It's been a little frustrating, but we're still a week into it, and I've got put some money into some advertising on Facebook and a couple other places to get hopefully some more people to my page, and eventually get them to Indiegogo and have them take a look at it and hit.
I'll have to look you guys up on Facebook and friend you on there. I did not realize you were on there.
Yeah, it's under Chromosome 21 Comics.
Okay, cool.
Now, when it comes to funding, somebody said this the other day. I don't remember who it was, but they had said that when it comes to funding, you're going to get a lot of it in the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
Like the middle period is not, unless you get like a big push from somebody, you're not going to see as much of that as you are with the beginning of the with the beginning and the end. But the other thing about it is there's no, like, even if you don't succeed, like, it's definitely worth coming back to. Like, I mean, the Sporkman guys, you know, I think they've got a fantastic premise right there.
Mm-hmm.
They had a great story that they want to tell, but, you know, they didn't make it through their first fund or their first roundabout or their first bout with crowdfunding. They're going to try again. And I think that's wonderful to see that resilience from them. But the other, I had a question, and this is a bit off the path from what we were talking about, which was, would you be interested in creating a kind of a low quality, almost homemade movie version of Thrashers?
That's the that's the funny thing is when I first started putting this together, and see, I've got a mind that I always think a lot bigger than what's in front of me.
Oh yeah.
And I started right after I got the script and started seeing pages from Jose. I'm going, man, I should look for like somebody that's got some camera skills and some sound guys, and maybe just try and do something, just to see how it looks and how it appears. Because I mean, like I said, and it would be, I would want to make it look like the old B movie type thing that's going on. So it's something that's been in the back of my mind, but it's like, I just want to get through funding this book, and then we'll move on from there.
Now, how long? What was your first comic experience? That's always a question we've got around this, and there's always interesting stories to this.
My first comic experience, me and a buddy had just went up to and saw a movie, and we were riding our bikes back to my house, and we stopped by 7-Eleven, and we're going to go in and get a Slurpee. And so I grabbed my Slurpee, and I know I have some money left over, and I walking down the the aisles, and I walk by the magazine aisle, and I look up on the rack, and there's comic books. So I flipped through it, and I saw G.I. Joe #1. I picked up G.I. Joe #1, and I flipped through a couple more, and I picked up Amazing Spider-Man 231.
See, that's amazing that you got there right as the #1 came out. Nobody has that kind of luck.
Yeah, and it was and this is how naive I was back then. In the back page of the comic, there was, hey, subscribe to these, send this card in, and subscribe to Marvel titles. Well, I cut it out at the back of the comic book. Check the books I wanted to, put a check in there. Well, I had my mom write a check and put it in the envelope and sent it away. And about, once I started getting more into comic books, a couple years later, I'm figuring out, oh man, I just destroyed the value of this #1 book, cutting the back page of it out. So,
but that's still so cool that you were able to start with the '1. That actually, I think that's kind of neat back when you had to mail that stuff in. Although what's kind of funny is when you flip through different 80s and even some 70s stuff, there's a ton of all their ads that are inside the book are usually for really weird things. Like I found one of them in one of my Green Lantern issues from the 80s. I was advertising for male performance enhancement. Like, they were really beating around the bush with it, like so that kids wouldn't catch on to what was being said.
Yeah, but
you could tell that was what was implied, and like with the type of name that the brand had. It was kind of funny to me to see that, and I was wondering if as a kid, I was saying, it's like, wow, a couple inches taller. That sounds awesome.
I always wanted to send in and get the X-ray glasses. So
that's something that people talk about all the time. Is there's X-ray glasses or like hoverboard and stuff like that, and people talk about how they didn't really work when you actually got them. Like they were like some gimmicky little thing.
Yeah.
I always wanted to send away for the X-ray specs, but I always felt like maybe that's something that foreboding. So I just won't.
It's just that's coming around the corner.
So
my dad always, like when he was younger, or I think like middle schoolish, like people would ask, they'd say, what do you think they're going to come up with in the future? And I think his idea was anti-gravity. And he was thinking that was going to happen as a kid. And I think even though we didn't get that, like there's still so many things that we have that, seem so foreign back in the day. Like, you'd see James Bond with his watch, and all of a sudden, we've got watches that can do that now.
Yeah.
That's one of the things actually it's funny to think about. I was just doing a little bit of reading, totally unrelated to the comic today, but I was doing a little bit of reading about the history of Dick Tracy earlier this week, and how his watch moved from being a radio watch to being a video watch in the early '60s, because the radio watch was too close to reality. With transistor radios being a thing, they said, "Oh man, it's just that radio watches are just around the corner. We got to up the game a little. We got to make it fancier. It's going to lose interest because it's too real."
Have you guys ever thought about?
I'm sitting there reading this, thinking, I have a square of silicone in my pocket that can talk to space.
Oh yeah, it's so crazy, especially to think about. We're from all sorts of different points in the country. Like, where are you from, Mr. Thrashers?
I'm in Texas right now. Yes.
See, you're like all over the place. And what about Clay? Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Now, what part of the country are you from, Clay?
I'm from the United States, East Coast.
Yeah, you don't have to go into like the full specifics if you're not comfortable. Like, I completely respect that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right now it's like I'll just say I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, that's completely fair. Like, I'm kind of open about things and say that I live in the Baltimore area, but that's just because that's the type of person I am. And I also think that's broad enough and it's such a big area that it's not specific.
I like to rep Scottsbluff, Nebraska whenever I get the chance, because people like to not or don't notice we exist. So.
That's kind of the sad thing about, people call it, I feel like this is a derogatory term, the flyover states and stuff like that, but there is a lot of stuff out there, especially the Great Plains.
Yeah, this is I'm going to take a real derail off of the comic book talk. First time I ever went to DC, and I may have told you this story, Matt, I don't know. But the first time I ever went to DC, I went down there for a work conference, and I was in a room with a bunch of other professional youth workers and administrators of human service agencies, and all this hobnobbing was going on, and they had a table full of fancy cheese and little weenies and all kinds of stuff, and I'm sitting there. I'm a youth worker, so I dress like a youth worker in t-shirts and jeans and flannel shirts and all that kind of stuff, and I'm with all these high-class, highfalutin executive type folks in their nonprofits and whatever. A guy walks up to me and he says, "So, where are you from?" I say, I'm from West Nebraska. "And what do you do there?" And I tell him what I did there. And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I said, "So where in Nebraska?" I said, "We're about 30 minutes from Wyoming. We're as close as you can get without actually being in Wyoming." He said, "Oh, do you guys have problems with Indian uprisings out there?"
Oh my
That's
God.
a joke you didn't tell today.
I legitimately said, I looked at him square in the face and I said, "Yes." We have to pull the wagons every night just to stay alive.
Wait, do you recall what year this was? Like that he, what year this was?
This was in 2000.
Oh,
Okay, yeah,
wow.
he would have been, like, if he was 20 years there, he would have been ripped to shreds.
It was 2001.
Sorry.
I said we have to circle the wagons up every night, and he says, "Really?" I said, "No. There hasn't been any uprising in 100 years."
I have family from Germany, and when they came over, they actually managed to convince some kid that Germany is actually this really poor country after World War II, and that everyone takes up jobs farming and no one is happy.
Well, it was for like 12 minutes,
No, but like I'm talking about, like even now they're just still there. It's like, oh yeah, and we have to herd the goats and take care of the goats and make sure that nothing happens to them, because if they die, we're not going to make it.
Oh.
The kids bought it up.
Yeah. So I like to say, like I said, I like to rep my town as much as I can, because that happened to me. So.
Well, sorry, I guess I've got a bit of, not a cough or anything, but like my throat feels blah. It's not even like a thickness blah. I think it's just that this coffee I'm drinking is doing something. I don't feel so good anymore.
So in Thrashers, we're going to change the subject entirely from my travels and Matt's throat.
You're trying. Wait, why are you doing it, my throat?
No, not two. And
The magical land of mystery.
my God, it's all shot to hell. I'll tell you that right now. So anyway, in Thrashers, you've got a big cast of characters.
Yes.
And I have two questions about that. One, did you find yourself writing your past experiences and the people you knew in the metal scene into the book?
Yes. Two, three. Well, all the characters are based on. All the metalheads are based on myself and friends, either present or back in the 80s. And the Army Rangers are just Army Rangers, but they're named after people that I knew back in the 80s.
And that actually is a good segue into my second question, which is there on the surface, there seems that there would be a big divide between the metalheads and the Army guys, right?
Yes.
Like a big cultural a rift between them. Is that a driving force in the story, or is this more one of those multiple worlds colliding for a greater future sort of a thing?
Exactly. It's the world's gone to crap, and we all need to get together to survive this, basically.
Very
I
cool.
love that type of. I really wish there was more stuff like that nowadays, because I feel like it's either everything is hopeless or everything's way too cuddly to take seriously.
Yeah, and there is going to be the different they're basically two sides polar opposites of each other, and it won't be in the first offering, but down the road some of those things are going to come to pass. That the being opposites it's not going to be something that divides them, but it's going to be an issue that they have to work their way through. So.
I think that's actually a really important element in stories that I think gets missed a lot, is the fact that, a free society needs, those kinds of people. They have to have the people that are very disciplined and regimented.
Mm-hmm.
They have the people that are free thinkers and have a fierce independence. And if you don't have those two elements, not only in different people, but also in your own self, I think that it lends to a stagnation and a discomfort that takes the life out of freedom. So I think it's important to have those elements in there.
Yeah, and it was just like I wrote it basically looking at it, from the point of view as how would I reacted, and who would I want around me if this happened? And that's when I started thinking, all right, well, I got my buddy Carlos. I want him because he's a big muscly guy, but he's a big guy, and I want my wife next to me, and then I want the two guys that I grew up with that I could always rely on. And so I wrote them into the story, and then the guys that are the Army Rangers, the guys that I named them after, were guys that I hung out with that I always knew that I could count on them for stuff. So I wanted to be able to make this gelling of the two that it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be developed to the point that we all need to get along, because we may not like each other, we may not agree with stuff, but there's a big freaking alien in front of us, and we got to learn to deal with that. And there's thousands or millions of them more coming, and we need to be able to survive this, or everybody's going to end up dead.
That actually brings up another thing that I wanted to ask about. These aliens that are coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing off of any known alien invader tropes, or are you trying to come up with your own aliens, or how are you working with that?
I wanted to come up with something new and original, but not something that was just crazy over the top, So I when I was first going over it, and I gave a loose description to Jose and said, this is what I'm looking for. And we went back and forth a couple times. And I said, I was thinking something insectoid, but maybe, that walks upright. So, a little humanoid in there. And, he threw some things back at me, and we've kind of worked it out. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's something that I think is it may not be entirely original. I mean, I don't have a catalog of every alien that's been drawn or, you know, created, but I think it's going to be original enough that people are going to like it. So.
I mean, hey, as long as it kind of brings, as long as it's entertaining, you know, I'm fine with leaving originality behind.
Yeah, it's
people are really hooked on being completely 100% original, and I'm definitely not saying like copy everybody else and just do what everyone else is doing, but there's not really a such thing as a 100% original idea because everything draws from something else, like whether we realize it or not. And you can still create something that's very entertaining despite being similar to something else.
yeah, and I wanted them to, yeah, and I wanted them to be big, you know, so they're like ominous looking. So they're going to be, you know, I think the final version is going to be like around 8 or 9 foot tall. So they're going to be big and ominous looking. So it's not something that. And that's another reason why I wanted them big and ominous looking. So one person couldn't fight one. You're going to look at a group of people having to take on one just to take care of it. So that you know, that immovable force, and you've got to basically team up to take care of it. So you got to come to some type of agreement on how you're going to handle the situation.
So this invading force, is it like a colonizing force that's like looking to inhabit Earth, or are they coming like for materials to go back home?
You'll find that out in the second book.
Okay. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll ask my questions.
Yeah, there's some things in the first book that you're gonna see and you're gonna wonder, why is this and why is that, and that will be answered in the second.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So are we going to get to see stuff from the aliens' perspective too, or is that just from the humans' perspective?
You're going to see some stuff in the first book, not from their perspective as they're hunting down you know, like from their point of view, like through their eyes type thing, as they're hunting down the group of metalheads and the Rangers. In the second book, you'll see inside certain things, but you won't see anything from like, you won't see any like, you know, type of you know, communication or dialogue between them or anything like that. It's basically mostly from the point of view of from the metalheads and the Rangers.
Now, here's a question kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but still related. So I know some writers, when they're working on a particular project, they'll build especially if music is a huge thing to them, they'll build a playlist. Do you have a playlist for Thrashers?
I have my own playlist of music I like to listen to while I'm working on the project. And I've actually got, I actually have somebody on Twitter that has actually volunteered to maybe lay down a couple of original tracks for the project as well. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, he mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, dude, go for it. And so you know, it's a work in progress, and you know, I don't want to mention anything until we work something out. But it's something that when he said it, I was just like, and when I was doing the videos, I was looking for different music to put with the videos, but nothing. I liked a lot of it, but nothing really gelled as far as what I wanted the music to convey with the images I was going to put in the video. So I had to just bite the bullet and go with a couple of songs that were good, but not what I actually wanted to convey. So hopefully, if we can work that out and he can lay down a couple of original songs, we can add that to some of the images and come up with a video that, you know, got some bite to it and get you drooling over getting this book.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. I'm excited. I need to buy into this. I have not yet, but I definitely should. So what are you asking for your levels on that?
I've got quite a few levels. You can just basically, the lowest level you can donate is just $2, just to donate, just to support the project. And what I'm going to do for that is on the project, all my tiers are described on concert tickets. So I'm going to create a little concert ticket as saying a thank you just for supporting the $2 and get that out to people. And then the next tier up would be the digital copy. It's about, I believe it's, I have the page right here in front. I believe it's $6 for the digital copy. Then you go to the next tier up is $12 for the physical copy. And then you got a combo pack of the digital copy and the hard copy for like 14.
He's on
And then, you know, you go up from there. You can get the physical copy and some pinups for 15, and then 2 pinups for 20. And then the highest tiers are actually you can actually get a commission done by the artist that drew the cover, and he's actually the one that drew my little icon that you see there. And that's basically what you're going to get. It's called the posers perk, where you get yourself drawn with one of the characters in the book, your likeness. So
that's cool.
And so that's at $150. Then the next tier up is going to be $200, and that's going to be Heavy Metal Legends, and you'll actually get drawn into the book, and you'll become the band Celtica that they're going to go see. And that's probably going to be 1 or 2 pages in the book.
I'm imagining Enter Sandman, but lost sleep with one night and like with big Scottish accents.
You know, I visited in my head. You would see like the tour bus and some guys stumbling out of the tour bus, but you wouldn't actually see their face, or girls. If a lady decides to join that perk, that would be great. And then the last reveal of the whole group is them getting ready to walk up on stage. You know, you see a big group shot of them. And then also with that perk, you will get a pinup of like a promotional picture of the band, basically, you know, everybody drawn together. And then the big kahuna, the $250, you will get drawn into the book again. It's called Join the Fight. There are 3 Army Rangers that are they have names, but I said, you know what, as a perk, I'm going to have if somebody wants to get drawn into the book, their likeness drawn into the book. There's 3 characters that they could become, and they're going to be drawn into about 8 to 10 pages, and join in the fight, get to take down some aliens. So
now, really quick, seeing your profile picture, is this like kind of what you would look like in the style, or is this one of your characters?
The old guy with the gray hair, that's me.
Oh, okay.
My likeness. A little bit more gray than I had to have Omri go back and say, add some black. I'm not completely gray, so add some black in there, please.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, any one of the characters, including if you want to get a picture, you pose them with the alien. That's up for grabs as well. So, and that's limited to 15, based on his timeline as to how long he said he would be able to take to draw to get those out, in close concordance with the graphic novel being delivered. So.
Reese, you're screen sharing, just so you know.
Oh, I didn't realize I was screen sharing.
No, I'm just gonna be looking at your Facebook the whole time now.
I was gonna grab his link to put back into the thing there. So
yeah, now I'm seeing Alito there, and I'm kind of upset that I didn't see that it's out of theaters now. Hopefully, it comes to DVD soon, and I'll be watching that ASAP.
Yeah, that movie was really amazing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it this weekend. So.
If I like it enough.
Wait, if you guys are talking about Alita, I gotta say it is probably one of the best 2019 movies I've ever seen.
2019 is in the best movie to come out in this year, or best like this generation?
So far it is the best 2019 movie I've ever seen. Like, you know, to clarify.
I plan on seeing it this weekend, so.
Yeah.
Can you see? Oh, sorry, you go, Matt.
No, I was just saying, sadly, the option's not there for me anymore. It's heading out.
Yeah, because I was about to say, you should make sure that you actually can see it this weekend, because fucking Captain Marvel's locking all.
The thing is, I can't remember if because we called one of the movie theaters to say, hey, what gives? And I think one of them said, oh, well, like, I know the schedule looks like really weird, and it might change next week. But I have heard stories across the country, and I can't imagine that every single movie theater in the country, or at least a large amount of them, all are behind on schedules with everything except for the newest release. Like, I feel like they'd still be like, oh yeah, you can come see whatever movie, like Lego Movie 2 or How to Train Your Dragon. You can come see that this day, especially when like How to Train Your Dragon 2 is not that old.
You got it?
Yeah, I checked mine just in case, and there was literally only one movie playing next to Captain Marvel, and that's like that Medea movie.
Like, I did hear about that. They're like, how so many of those?
Like literally, that is the only other movie playing next to Captain Marvel. If that wasn't there, yeah, it's just Captain Marvel playing.
I do know that for big chain theaters, they have their schedule set in such a way that holding a movie over is like a huge corporate decision. So
Exactly.
it's so different if you've got an AMC or a Carmike or something like that. They have to really bend over backwards and think they're going to make a lot of money because it's contracts and it's you know the whole thing. If you have a smaller theater in your town that's like a mom and pop owned thing, their schedule is a lot less stringent for that. But sometimes they also get second and third run stuff too, and that makes a difference with how long they hold movies.
But yeah, when it comes to, it makes me mad because I was hoping to be able to see Alita this weekend when I'd have some time. And you know, of course, it's like it goes out. It went. I think tonight was its last day, and
Yeah.
down. And then I can't go tomorrow because I have work. And then you know, it's not in Saturday, and all that's there is Captain Marvel. And what kind of kicks about Captain Marvel is apparently the movie's not even very good to begin with.
Yeah, luckily I live close to a metropolitan area, so I've got my choice of dozens of theaters, and Alita's playing in probably at least 12 places this weekend. So
I'm still like the eyes are still something to get used to with Alita. Like in some shots, it actually does look cute. It actually kind of looks like an anime girl with slightly bigger eyes and everything. And then in other shots, it looks really weird, like they just magnified them.
yeah.
A lot of it, honestly, like haven't seen the picture. Once you're like 4 or 5 minutes in, she spent like say 4 or 5 minutes because it takes a little while to actually get on the screen. But once she's been on screen for 4 or 5 minutes, you barely even notice the difference in her eyes. In fact, for me, there's a flashback scene to her from before where there are others like her. And it was more shocking to realize that other people had big eyes too than it was to realize that she had big eyes.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, just like to warn you guys, that was kind of a spoiler in the movie.
Just a little one.
Yeah, just a little one. We don't want to go into specifics, but that's why she has the big eyes.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it though. Barry has just joined in the chat.
Really insulting things that Barry have
yeah, but I mean, go on by it. You want to buy both. Yeah, but when you got a little bit older.
Now, in your picture, Mr. Thrashers himself, who is the girl in the picture?
That's the character D.
Okay.
That's Mikey's date for the concert.
That's still really cool. I think I'm gonna have to check out this whole campaign because I mean I've heard things about you. The past couple of days I've been seeing your name circle around on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, and that thanks to a lot of support there from many people. It's been great.
Yeah, it's really great to kind of be able to have this opportunity to build an audience in the first place. Like I said, it's kind of we're born into the right area where this is still new, and we can still, in our lifetime, we're going to be able to get some of our ideas out there in one way or another.
Yeah, I think it's the right time for this indie group of creators to plant their feet and make themselves known. And especially if the majority of the content is just far and above what the big companies are putting out. I think it's going to be may take a little while, but I think it's going to be an eye opener to the big guys and
hopefully, yeah. And like I don't even mind if they don't want, or like I mean it would be great to see some of us in those company spots, but I don't mind if they don't want to do that as long as they eventually get the idea that there's so much more they could be doing with this legacy characters. Like I've got in 2017, I was buying so many books, and it was I was working overtime to spend like $40, $50 a week on comics going a week, and being like, oh well, I love this, and then I've got another book, and I love that, and I loved doing that. I mean, as terrible as it was for my wallet, and I worked extra to make up for it. I loved that. And then 2018 rolls around, like Metal ends with DC. Marvel, I didn't really touch. I don't really talk to anymore. It's like my estranged aunt or something. But I was so just bored of everything. Like a lot of writers were dropping off from books I liked, and I just didn't want to keep up. So I'm down to about 3 books total that I'm have on my pull list right now, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It's growing up, I probably had a good 15. Books were a lot cheaper back then. So I had about 15, 20 books a month that I on average that I would get, plus whatever limited series or whatever I decided to pick up when I was just walking the racks. And now, I mean, I can't even name 5 books that I would really that I want to buy every month.
Well, like there are a couple that I have been really looking forward to. Although I'm behind on it, I am 2 issues behind. I am loving the Grant Morrison Green Lantern that he's doing right now. Like it doesn't feel like it's my past experience with Grant Morrison, like Arkham Asylum and stuff like that, was that he was really grim and psychological. And I'm happy to say that he does the Green Lantern mythos justice without feeling like he's really throwing too much crazy into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read the issue where Hal Jordan meets God, and I'm looking forward to that. But I am but so far, like he's doing a great job with this character that I care so much about. Now, the other books I'm reading, I'm a big TMNT fan. I've talked about that almost every single week of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Eastman himself, right, the original co-creator of Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
he's had an ongoing series with TMNT that's been going on since 2011, where he's like doing his own thing and experimenting with new takes on his own characters. And it doesn't feel like disrespectful to them or anything. And that's a series that I've just been following. It's become so common, or like I've been following it so much that it just feels natural for me to keep going with it. It's it's comforting almost that no matter what happens in comics, there's still Kevin Eastman writing TMNT.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, speaking of the Turtles, did you happen to spot that T-shirt that I linked you to the other day?
I did. I do think I saw it. That you linked me and Doug Garrett to it, right?
Yep.
I think I was. Yeah, I do remember seeing it, and I do remember thinking it was pretty cool. Right?
Yeah, I got a crow a little bit.
I don't wonder what
mine. Who's a part of the Denver comic scene. That's his design. And awesome. I thought, I'll bet Matt will like this shirt.
Yeah. I've definitely, if it comes to T-shirts right now, I guess I might be looking for some more, but I'm kind of picky when it comes to T-shirts because one, they can get like the ones that you get from stores. Like I'm not talking about ones you order online from like specific designers like this, but when you get them at stores, they can be pretty pricey. Like it's not uncommon to see T-shirts that go for like $25.
No, I'm not doing nothing.
When I'm like I don't like work a ton because I have a lot of school obligations and other things, so I don't have the kind of money to throw around at that stuff. But I am, when it comes to people creating independent T-shirts, like I am a little more open to supporting that, especially when it's one of you guys.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to guilt trip you or anything. I just thought.
I'm sorry if it came off that way. That wasn't the intention.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Dan would probably be super embarrassed.
We started on pants because like pants, I just don't buy whatsoever. I'm not going to buy your pants. Don't sell me no wristwatches.
Yeah.
I don't want a snapback hat. No socks.
What?
I'm just like trying to go into like this weird tangent about clothing articles.
That's the most exciting radio ever. So,
someone just tweeting me right now.
There, Matt. Oh yeah, I thought I'd give Argyle a try. Okay.
Some leg warmers. I found some nice leg warmers. Oh, we have 7 people watching right now. Very happy about that. They're very grateful.
If anybody in the chat has any questions regarding Thrasher, please go ahead. I know Matt is keeping an eye on the chat. I am not. So we'll go ahead and go from there on that.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them.
I honestly can't think of any other questions that I have about the project other than the fact that I now absolutely want to buy it. So that's
I appreciate that. And just for Matt's sake, there are T-shirts coming. So
hey, there you go.
I'll definitely look into that, especially if you got some killer designs, because I imagine that kind of comes with the metal territory is having T-shirts.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
there's going to be some cool designs coming up with that. Plus, I'm also got a buddy that's working on a bookmark. It's going to be a metal bookmark with Thrashers carved into it on one side and a little picture of the alien claw on the other side. And that's he's working on that right now. So that's coming down the pipeline as well.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
My
other ideas for bookmarks too, but that's the main one right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear what you'd said.
Oh, I said there's a couple other ideas coming for bookmarks that was actually mentioned in a chat last night, Tuesday night, that I'm gonna give props to the guy that come up with it. But I'm working on that right now. So when it's ready to be shown, I'll get it out there on the page or maybe tweet it or something.
Yeah, that's cool. I know that as far as metal prints go, one of my artists, one of the partners in our company, Barry Tetz, who's probably in the chat right now, he made the acquaintance of a guy who does metal printing, and he had some business cards made with them, and we're looking at depending on if we get funded with our campaign and how that goes, about doing some metal prints as rewards, a stretch goal on the road. So those are also always really cool looking.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and thank you. Not that you have to leave or anything at all, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera to Robert and talk about Clayman a little bit, since he's been patiently waiting for us to ask the questions.
Are we supposed to call him by his name? Like, I thought that was just something that we saw on our side.
Well, yeah, I'll say it like this. My real first name is Robert. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Robert Clayman.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing I did not mention the last name, which I will keep a big secret.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you actually have a because I know that you have your alter ego when it comes to Twitter. You have Claylex, and then you have Clayman, Hero of the 22nd Century.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the 22nd century, just to get the start off on our Clayman related question, what is going on in the 22nd century that's so different from right now? Like, how much has everything advanced?
The way that I put this is it's been 100 years, like basically from 2018 and this went to 2118. The way that I have it planned out so far is that everything has nearly evolved. Like, animals have evolved, plants have evolved. We have robots. Foods evolve so everyone can eat without having to even eat animals. It's like not even some of them not even being able to use plants. Like, of course, you got your chrome buildings, chrome robots, because who doesn't love chrome?
Everything's chrome in the future.
Yeah.
I love that moment in SpongeBob, when he says that. And
yeah, that was a good episode. I like that.
And he sees the flowers pop up, and immediately a guy comes by with a spray can to turn it chrome too.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I love that. Now, when it comes to you're talking about food, so like when you say it doesn't require animals or anything, like is it like completely genetically engineered, not just modified, but like completely, like you've got your food brick?
Yeah, exactly. It's like well, how can I explain the best I can? Is like in this one, animals are now called the evolved because now they've evolved to basically how can I explain? Anthropomorphized. I butchered that name, that word. Anthropomorphized animals. So now they're as tall as humans, they talk like humans, and they basically live human-oriented lives. So it's like humanity was like, oh, we got to figure out how to live with them, and so basically, yeah, they came up with their scientific ways and created their own organic food source without like people going insane and eating the same thing over and over again.
Huh. That's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah. Carl just said it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, man. It's like Carl said it's like, yeah, everyone keeps saying that it's like it's going to be the furry brigade. No, it's not going to be something involving furries. I really hope not.
No, like then it's. Have you ever seen the Plague Incorporated games where people are playing Plague Incorporated and they name the disease furries?
Yeah, like they start going rabid, so they call it the furry disease.
But yeah, when it comes to the anthro animals, that actually was something I didn't know about, and I wanted to ask you kind of about the tone of the Clayman series. Now, is this going to be something as zany and and goofy? Is it going to be like kind of serious, just with like a kind of, you know, a little more of an exaggerated rebellious costume? Or...
Yeah. Originally, I was going to make this very, very, I would say slightly dark with a very brutal oriented fashion. Like, originally when I wrote the script, which I tried for like 24 pages, is that Clay literally beat the crap out of free thugs. He had broken every single bone on this guy's body, but he was still alive, but he was like perfectly fine with it because he didn't kill him. And then like I put in some super villains, and yeah, it was they killed them in a very, very gory oriented fashion. And I had given the script to some comic book friends of mine. They were like, yeah, since this is your first comic book, I'd recommend you turn the tone down because again, this is your first comic book, so it would be best if you make it more a teen oriented superhero comic, which I was like, okay, you know, I'll try it out. So I wrote it again, and it actually works for Clayman. So I was like, okay, I'll keep it like this, you know. Still keep his powers and all that. Don't need to make it brutal. He can still kick ass, just like not so Batman oriented brutality.
Now, speaking of Batman, this is something I thought was kind of interesting with you talking about breaking every bone in someone's body but not killing them. You ever wonder that Batman does that because it's almost worse than killing? Like you know, you're going to be drinking out of a straw for the rest of your life. That's worse than
that's exactly what Batman does.
Yeah, I've always wondered that, like, because you know, I feel like it is kind of a mental thing with him. Like he's not going to kill because of all the bad memories tied to killing, but he's willing to go a step above and make sure that you're not living a good life.
Well, I think one of the elements that gives, as far as for the reader's perspective, is even though we're dealing with people that, you know, might be suffering some disability, you know, if they're in the commission of a crime, then they maybe have it coming. But more than that, it gives the opportunity for redemption on behalf of criminals.
I do like that thing with Batman, even though a lot of the bad guys do come back. And I think this is the biggest reason for the no killing rule, is to keep villains, you know, alive. Because if they killed the Joker, or if they killed Riddler, like, you know, people would be upset and they'd be like, oh, I really wanted to see more with the Riddler and the Joker. But also at the same time, I love that about Batman's character because it's unique. And it's also, it is just very interesting, more so than just, you know, just goes out there and kills people, which there's nothing really wrong with superheroes that kill at all. But, you know, every once in a while, it's refreshing to see something like that, especially something so grounded and moral when it comes to Batman. Like, he's not going to break every bone in your body and leave you in hospital to rot. Like, he's going to try and see it through that you recover to some capacity. Like with some people like Joker, you know, he's not really going to help them as much. Like he's going to just lock Joker up. But when it comes to the other criminals that he knows they've just been dealt a bad hand or something, or that they're mentally unwell,
yeah,
he puts them in Arkham and he monitors some of them to see how they're progressing.
So when it comes to Clayman, what would you say his powers are?
Original, like, yeah, when I showed my artist friends this, like during the first progress of it, yeah, it's like I would try at least for part 1 of Clayman, I'm trying not to make him an obvious Clayface oriented character. I just kind of like just gave him the usual like superhuman physical attributes so far. But I did include that he does have the power of like to adapt and evolve as time goes on. But you know, again, when I do write that in the future, I do want to make it not OP. So it's like it feels natural and it makes sense. So it's not like a freaking Deus Ex Machina, you know? Because if I made a Deus Ex Machina, no one's gonna care.
No one's gonna care, yeah. That's an issue. Now when it comes to Clayman, a lot of this refers to his ability to change his appearance to look like somebody else.
That one so far, yeah. Like if you're talking about that, if you've seen it so far on the Twitter, right now is like his mutation currently offers him again, at least in part one, is like he can change from kind of like what he is as a superhuman and then like go back to what he was originally before his mutation.
Oh, so like is he that's not a mask he's wearing, it's his face?
That is actually a mask.
Okay, that's a mask. All right, got it. Now when it comes to where does the clay part kind of play into it? Like, so that, you know, we were just talking about that might come in the future, but when it comes, like, does it come from he gets mutated with clay, or how does it play into it?
The way that it works, yeah, the way that I fought it up so far is that the name Clay just kind of stuck after like it's funny enough, like he when he was first starting out and he was kind of exposed to is that everyone kept like when they first started seeing the Clay Man, it was like his skin looked like solid clay and he smelled like fresh clay, and that was where you know, at least so far that I thought that that's how the name just struck. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it like that, you know. And then when he started calling himself that, and then again the name just stuck.
Yeah, I've definitely, when it comes to some of the faces around the indie comics community, yeah, Clayman's is one of my favorites just because of the expression.
Yeah, and a lot of people say like he looks a lot like the Max, which I was like I just started getting into that character. I started watching the animated show. It's really good. But at the same time, it's like I still want to try to give that originality to him. And again, the smile was like I wanted to do something original. It's like wanted to keep him happy all the time. Sure, people may say like, I don't know, he could be a slight ripoff of All Might because All Might keeps smiling, and I'm like, well, maybe like if he's not, it's like sure he may have a different expression inside the mask, but he wants people to know he's still smiling outside, to know that yeah, I'm still keeping the situation under control.
He definitely looks. I just love it. It's rebellious.
My Hero Academia. So.
Did you say macadamia? I thought you just said macadamia, like the nut.
I did. Because I usually talk about macadamia because I find that concept hilarious. And I realized midway between syllables that I was saying the wrong damn thing.
Yeah, I don't blame you because, like, you know, I'm not, well, or I guess it depends because when it comes to political comics, I think Tim Lim, I haven't read any of his, but I think a lot of them are funny just on concept alone. And I think there are some things where it directly correlates to a current politician. Like I have I think I have one or two issues of Ash Williams saves Obama. And that was a real thing, but that was actually really entertaining as well.
Yeah. Just because political characters are involved does not necessarily make a story political.
Or it doesn't even make it. You know, we've talked about time and time before. When it comes to politics is a double-edged sword when it comes to writing. Like it can either greatly enhance your story, or it could do the opposite and turn a lot of people off your story and also come off as heavy-handed and preachy. It's all about delivery. You know, storytelling is an art form, and I like to say that delivery, with the right delivery, you could almost put out any idea, but even really terrible ones. But when I say terrible, I'm talking like, you know, Hitler basically is a good example of a bad or power being used for bad. But when it's used for good, it can change a lot. People talk a lot about the X-Men, and that was done so well, and also stood on its own as a very entertaining idea, even outside of its allegories to the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was thinking about making like a dedicated video about kind of the nuance of comics have always been political, and kind of talking about when politics are done right and how it is a much touchier subject than a lot of people would realize.
And not to get too far off the track, but Matt,
Yeah.
you and I have talked about this before, that I think a lot of people misunderstand politics, right?
Yeah,
because we think partisan struggle, but what politics really are at their base level is they are the affairs of men or women, the affairs of humans in society. Anytime you get more than a couple people together, it gets political because that's just the way things are.
By definition. And so yeah, that is kind of the funny thing about it, is when people say no politics, and then people go like, oh, well, if you're a real comic fan, then you do want politics. And then obviously you don't want them the way they are now. Like there's a lot more discussion to be had than saying no politics or yes, everything is politics. And even though that's something you've talked about before, your philosophy on that. I feel like there's a lot more discussion to be had than we're actually seeing, but that's kind of a worldwide problem at this point.
Well, and I think take a look at two examples of guests we've had on the show, right? With Holgrave, Carl, last week we talked about a lot of the background politics of his story because it's a whole alternate world and a whole different society, right?
Yeah.
And stuff forms the decision of his story. It's C-SPAN level stuff. It's not necessarily interesting as far as the story material, but his background is super important.
It's pretty funny commentary, like reflecting back on some of the stuff that we have without feeling like it's really demeaning to one group or another. Like it's pretty well done, but I'm also a bit biased to Carl.
Yeah. I also love Carl's stuff, so I'm maybe a little biased that. But also, like we're talking about with Thrashers today, there's intrinsic political dynamics within that story because there has to be between the Rangers and the metalheads. And I love the fact that he like he was talking about, that the goal of it is not to show division, but to show how the two sides make a stronger union down the road. I think that's wonderful.
That's something that Doug Garrett said when we had him on, and I think that's wonderful. Like he was talking about how people focus on what divides us too much, when if we think about what really brings us together, like love of comics and everything, we could be a lot closer, the whole community, not just us in our circle, but like the whole community, and even outside of that, like work, school, your town, like everybody be closer if they focused on what brought them together more than what pushes them away from each other.
Exactly. I know our guests here, but I think I do want to spend time to thank you guys for coming on. We'll get back to questions in a second, but I know Matt and I both feel so honored that people are willing to come on and share their passions with us, because I know I feel enriched by it. So thank you guys.
No, thank you for giving the opportunity.
I'm always happy to bring people on here, especially some people like our mysterious guest that we keep alluding to every once in a while, that I think he's finally got a solid date down for when he could come on. But when it comes to this, I learned about new people like Thrashers. I'd seen the name, but I hadn't actually learned too much about it. And I've followed Clay Lex here for a long time, and he's followed me on Twitter. And recently I was just kind of curious. I was like, what's the whole deal with Clayman? And I started talking to him. I sent him a couple messages, and then I'd asked him if he wanted to come join us and kind of talk about his project. So, like, on top of building a community, it also is just nice to learn about what other people want to be creating and what are their ambitions and projects that they want to put out.
So with Clayman character there, what do we have? What is your plan, your long-term goal for it? Are you working toward a crowdfunding book? Or are you going to plan on doing a webcomic? Are you looking to approach publishers? What's your plan, man?
Yeah, right now the plan is to try to write a decent script, and then for issue number 1, and which will be around 24 pages more or less, and then I gotta find me an artist. Like, I haven't found the one, but like that style well, for me, it's like, if there's any artists out there and you're hearing this, it's like, it's like I need me an artist that could do like a semi-realistic, semi-cartoon oriented style, but also of course particular artist that's like can write draw futuristic oriented buildings and settings, etc. You know, it's very much like kind of you know, a lot of important stuff, of course, need for Clayman. You know, like I said, like futuristic buildings, good action scenes, you know, good interior, exterior shots, etc.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the art, who did the profile image you have right now?
All right. Okay. So this is one of my favorite artists of all time. Hold on one second. My favorite artist of all time. Sky Sunny MQ. aka Chunlin Zhao. She's a Chinese artist. She actually is working with another guy on another webcomic called Tom and Artie. And I was like, I really, really like this. I was like, can you do Clayman in your style? And she's like, sure. So I commissioned her and I got this wonderful piece right here. I do have several pieces. Matt has seen it. It's like, you know, I still got plenty of art on villains, other versions of Clayman. I even got like but Matt knows what I'm talking about. I even got a little fan oriented group like the Avengers called the Dimensional Warriors that with several other
other characters. Yeah, that was wonderful.
Yeah, it's like
was that Foxy?
So what? Say that again.
Who did the piece of the Interdimensional Warriors with Maeve and Tom and Artie?
Yeah, that was Ginger Foxy.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Ginger she's an amazing artist, and I'm like, I believe I'm gonna try to like get her again to draw the next Dimensional Warriors piece, and I'll also be next month. I'll try to include more members in if possible.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna be right back. You guys keep talking. I've just got to do it real quick.
Let's see. Anyone in the chat have any questions for me at all?
You answered the only question that I had was about your avatar there. I like it. It's a lot. I like the big shit-eating grin. It's cool.
Yeah, I know. Again, the grin. That's the thing that Lisa poured with the costume is I would say the smile grin, at least for his first and second costume, is what I wanted to do with the important factor. Like the first costume, he doesn't have the hood. But my friend Jacob, aka Dr. Sue, made his version with the hood, and people instantly loved it. And I'll admit at first, I'm like, guys, he's not supposed to have a hood. But like, I really looked into it, you know, just looked at it like a serious, not critique, just look at the costume. And I'm like, you know, I mean, I liked it so much. I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be like his first costume. You know how it is, like Spider-Man, Captain America, and all that. It's like they always had like this is their costume before the actual costume. The moment the hood is basically, I would say, Clay's pre-costume.
Gotcha.
So he's still gonna keep the the grin. The one that I have planned is that when he the first costume he doesn't actually make it. He except for one part, like it's kind of like how can I say? It's kind of like Kick-Ass, where he literally just buys the costume online. That's what he does. He buys each and every part, like the gloves, the belt, the hood, jacket thing, and the mask, and the smile. The smile's separate. He sewed the smile onto the mask, so it kind of looks weird on it, and it's supposed to be like that because again, he sewed it onto it.
Yeah.
And you know, again, when I thought that up in my head, I'm like, that's perfect. That'd be perfect for his first costume. The second costume, it's not exactly a spoiler, but the second costume is like everything is like basically how can I explain? It's like a, you know, it's kind of like maybe like Spider-Man's or Probably basically one of those costumes where like everything is kind of attached. So maybe there's like, I don't know, something in the back of, you know, the obvious hole in the back so they can get in. And like, again, everything just fits and is connected together. So it's easier to, so, you know, he doesn't have to spend all time putting on each individual piece of the costume.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So one of the questions that I have there is tell me a little bit about Clay's motivations. What makes him want to do the whole crime fighting shtick?
Okay, so I think, yeah, like again, so far that I have planned that originally, I'll admit it's like I did take this for a bit of Spider-Man that he does kind of use his power. Well, yeah, he uses powers to try to like actually, yeah, he uses powers to like try to figure out what he actually wants to do with it. Does he want to do it for money? Does he want to do it for some other stuff? You know, not anything bad guy oriented, but like, you know, basically it's like, oh, I got this talent, but what he likes to call it's like I don't know what to do with it. But then like you know, as time goes by, the bad guys start coming out of the wet work and you know, they come in causing destruction and all that. It's like, you know, and seeing these poor people getting hurt, it's like, and the cops are trying, but everything's all chaos. It's like, I know what to do now with these powers.
So in the 22nd century, are superpowered individuals like a normal thing, or is it still, or is it a rarity?
Well, we do have, you know, it's like, it's not like, again, it's not crazy to see like plant people, or I like to call them plantoids, stretch their limbs to grab objects, or you see evolved rhinos holding up like a freaking truck like it's nothing to carry it on like any other work day. But if you know, of course, with you know, Clay being a mutant, if they saw a normal guy carrying like a 25-ton truck on his own, yeah, even that's gonna freak him out. It's like, whoa, that's weird even for us, you know.
Okay. So is there a particular incident that causes evolution to jump forward?
Yeah, I was wondering about that, like a bomb drop or something like that.
Speaking of bombs, yeah. Okay, so to go with that one again, I won't try to like spoil too much, but I so far, yes, something does happen that causes like the animals and the plants to evolve. And you know, they're basically confused about what to do, and then like going through those 100 years of history, it's like that's how they go, you know, into this future.
Well, I think definitely has got some room for a lot of questions that can be answered. And I don't necessarily think you have to be hard and heavy with them, but I know some I have is, you know, if animals have gained human-like sentience, what does that mean for morality and law? I think that's a really interesting question that you could jump into there. I think the propriety of governance over beings that weren't able to vote this forms of government in is an interesting idea. What does crime mean when it's a tree holding up a bank instead of a crackhead?
Yeah. Those are some really good questions. Yeah.
I'd love to see like a swamp thing type of creature, like, you know, kind of just suddenly spring up and like, oh well, we gotta start putting ourselves out towards this tree people now.
Well, and I know one thing: the comics aren't the best medium for that. For this question, in some ways, but once you have animals and plants joining the ranks of humanity, I mean, what does that do to the arts? What does that do to internet technology? You know, things that are on the edge of that.
It's also kind of interesting to think about with the genetically engineered food being like kind of bricks, or, you know, just kind of not what where, you know, it's gonna be totally different. I can also kind of see that being like a legit future, like it's something that, you know, we look at it and be like, wow, we used to actually eat like full foods, and now we just have these bars or whatever it would be. That's actually pretty interesting. I could legit see that coming down the line.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of fringe science that it directs itself that direction right now. with synthetic proteins being used to make artificial meat type products. And I know they announced, I can't remember where it was. I think it was in California, that there was a restaurant that was set up specifically to serve synthetic protein meat style product. And there was a debate about whether it was ethical if a restaurant didn't tell somebody that their steak was fake.
That's a good question. Yeah, like should they or should they not tell them that?
Well, and it's like one of the things in the C.S. Lewis in the Narnia books, there are two classes of animals. There's animals that speak and animals that don't. And the animals that don't speak aren't considered in Narnia to be sentient, and so people eat steak and deer and whatever else. Because if the deer was sentient, it would have told you to stop cutting it open.
Yeah, very true, very true.
So, and I know, of course, that was intended as a children's book with pauses for thought in it, but it's still so I kind of gloss over that, but it gets super complicated if you start to break that down.
Yeah. So one comment we got in the chat from my girlfriend, she says, if dogs were sentient, the world would be a better place. All those good boys running around.
Now it's like, oh man, I don't even want to I hate to bring this up. It's like, and like basically a question to myself, right? It's like, is interspecies relationships a thing in this?
Yeah, it's so weird to think about stuff like that because of the way the internet has kind of tainted it. But you think about, at that point we're like, these things are part human and they live among us. And it's something that you'd think about, but you also, but thinking about it aloud would make you look really weird.
Yeah. Here's my take on that. Speculation.
All right.
If you look at the way animals behave on themselves, because your premise is that the anthropomorphization, the nation of these animals, I can't speak right now, is due to an evolutionary process, right? This is the natural progression of stuff. If you look at the way animal types behave in interspecies ways today, right? If you have dogs and cats that are raised together, they still don't see each other as mate material, right? And it's not because they're racist. It's because they have different expectations. So I would imagine that even though if you had dogs and cats and people that are raised together, then you may have close friendships, but I think it would probably be like the she's just not into you sort of thing. I would imagine that kind of pairing wouldn't happen just because it's like, well, no, you're looking for something different from a relationship than I am.
I have a rebuttal, and it is shut your mouth. I want my falcon alligator, please. Like if it had wings and it could eat stuff with the force of an American alligator. I say love is love. Let them go.
Oh my god.
That would be totally awesome though. But so I'm just trying to think about some other. Now, is every animal species evolved at the same time, or are there some groups that are coming up with this? Because there is some event that you've described, but is it like, are there some things that were left out? Like, say, penguins were left out because they were at the South Pole.
No, the entire, again, I don't want to spoil, but it's like basically some kind of unknown energy had just hit the planet, and humans were fine, but animals and plants started to gain a human-like sentience and started to change and evolve all radically, kind of thing. Understandable.
Yeah. Oh man, right now I'm hungry for popcorn, Reese. Do you think I should go eat some popcorn?
I'm like actually hungry for popcorn.
Well, the reason I say this is because last week on our show with Carl and Reese, I was eating popcorn and it was so loud I got muted for a little bit, and then I would mute myself to eat my popcorn, and it was so crunchy that I'd get the notification that Google Hangouts gives you where it's like, Are you trying to speak? You're on mute. But it was pretty loud going back and listening to it. Although he had to bear the worst part of all, where like I started crackling the bag in front of the microphone just to be mean.
I'm not gonna lie, it was terrible.
It's awful. The joke on that though is because like usually when you talk to some people, they're like some people when they pick up their headset and stuff like that, there's like a little bit of a crackle as they put their headset on or as they're adjusting their microphone. So it was kind of it's a running gag I have with Carl that he's eating Doritos as he's picking up the phone. And that's why the crackling noise is. Unfortunately, Reese was he was collateral damage in my joke.
And the worst part is that since my webcam is working, it's an audio only show. So there's not even a visual component. It's just Matt eating chips or popcorn really loudly. It's great.
I did have coffee tonight. A little bit, not too much, but much that's way easier to deal with than popcorn.
Yeah, damn.
So
when it comes to Reese eating on the show, it's a much less of a problem. Like are you actually at Sherry's right now?
No, I'm not. I'm at a different location. I do have a sandwich in front of me, but I'm muting myself when I take bites.
Yeah, I've got to talk to Scott again about Catholic stuff because if you don't know, Scott's Catholic as well. Scott Bruckner on Twitter, or Scotty B on the mic is what he calls himself.
Yep.
And he was. I'm wondering what he's giving up for Lent. I'm giving up sugars and fast food, and I'm wondering how long I'm going to make it.
Wow.
Well, I wanted to really push myself this year, and I also got to lose some weight because, like, I wouldn't describe myself as obese or really fat, but I do have some noticeable extra weight on me that I've got to shed.
So, I'm probably rocking the dad bod. That's how I like to say it.
I'm not even afraid. I'm like, yeah, you're totally right. I don't know if I've heard that's kind of popular with some girls.
Well, I know it's popular with my wife, but
they don't not even the ones that actually don't have a choice. Like apparently, like it's kind of a it's like fetishized or something. Like I've seen it around dad bod. Like you see that picture of this is actually oddly specific, but
yeah.
There's this image that says expectations for men and women, and the one for women is a very figure, and the one for men is a huge block, and it shows Dom very like completely happy sitting there as like a big like squished into a block, looking like so proud. He's like, I finally a use for my talents. Basically, that's how I'm feeling. I'll share the image on Twitter for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, but it's a great picture.
Well, we'll have to look for that because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, me either.
I'll do it. You gotta pull it up right now and post it on Twitter.
It's okay. I think it just about a quarter to a third of the stuff Matt says. I just realized that I'm just old enough to not really get. So.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Let's
see.
see.
The funny thing, not to tell too many stories out of school, but so Matt is about 20 years younger than I am, and I'm about 10 years younger than you are. So
okay,
that's how that lays out.
Okay.
When we first started the show, we met on Donald DeLay's live stream, and we're talking about stuff, and found each other on Twitter, and thought this would be a fun thing to do together since we're both Matt, right?
Yeah.
And there's a third Matt too, but he's not with us here. Anyway.
Lar.
Yeah.
I've seen him around. I've been meaning to ask him about it.
I think he's just busy. I think that's part of it. I think he has a real life or something. But anyway, as I was saying though, is without the thing, but as we were getting the show going and working on stuff, and Matt was talking about doing the college thing, and I said, "How old are you?" And it turns excuse me, turns out he's about 2.5 years older than my oldest son, who starts college in the fall. So that's where I'm at.
All right, without context, I'm posting the image of Tom onto my onto the timeline. I don't have the rest of it, like the part where it says expectations for men and women, and the woman, you know, is a like a thin woman with big breasts, and she slides, you know, and then the men is just this big open square, and someone just responded with this image I'm now posting without context to Twitter.
Okay. That'll be fun.
Oh my god. That's like something my brother would post.
Without context. Like everyone's just gonna be like, okay. You're a little more out of it than usual, Matt.
Oh,
Yeah, I am curious though, Clay, on Twitter, your profile image at the time, which in future, like when people watch this in the future, it might seem a little weird if you change your profile picture, but you have the Lego person. Is that like a Lego persona from one of the games, or?
Okay, to be specific, real quick, that is a Lego version of the Sentry from the Lego Marvel Avengers game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know you have an affinity for the for what's it called? For the Sentry.
Yeah, he is like literally my favorite. He's my favorite Marvel character of all time.
You see, I've always been like, I know people say give him a chance and everything, but like I've always seen him as like kind of a Superman knockoff, and like I know people told me, no, you've got to actually give him a chance. He's a good character.
Yeah, he is by no means a Superman character. The only thing they have in common is the cape and the S, but that's it.
Just a second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, okay. I get away.
So who left?
Matt left, I think.
My dog was sitting at the door, and I didn't want to leave her out because it's kind of cold right now.
No, that's fair enough. So it was just sort of like I had popped over to Twitter to see your post, and then I come back and someone's gone.
The meme. That's just weird.
There's his body moving over you. Like, well, I won't hug you again. I said, okay.
So, well, honestly, I am kind of out of stuff to talk about. This doesn't happen very often. I don't know if I'm just overly tired or what the story is.
I'm like extreme. Oh, sorry, you go.
I was just thinking we have like 10 minutes left, so we can just like shoot the crap, you know.
Yeah, shoot the shit.
Now, what is there?
I'm sorry, I don't know what to call you. So, but anyway, if you were going to go ahead and give somebody a listen list of the top, 4 metal albums, what would it be?
The top 4 metal albums. Ooh, wow.
Totally arbitrary numbering, by the way.
I would have to say, just off of my top 4 favorite bands, I would have to say would be I'd say Metallica's Ride the Lightning, Motorhead's Iron Fist, Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, and Ronnie James Dio's Holy Diver.
The funny thing is, like me and my friends, we were all very sheltered Catholic kids. And I remember it scaring so many people, myself included, when I first started seeing them wearing Iron Maiden t-shirts and stuff like that, because you had Number of the Beast, and, you got these images of the skeleton and of like a demon. And at first, like, we're all really scared, and they're just like, what? It's a metal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot of explaining you have to do when you're a metalhead, especially like the deeper you go into it, where things look really scary or even satanic, but in reality they aren't. It's like they could see, they're like, oh, I can see why you'd think that, but it's not really the case.
It's usually just it's stuff behind the story, or the story behind the song. It's not thing that they're deeply. Some of them are.
Some of them are. They're not afraid to say it.
Yeah,
but like,
most of the time, like Number of the Beast, it's just a song. It's not anything to do with with what group people of Iron Maiden believe, and it's just
I remember hearing from, I think it was Ethan Van Sciver who said that the guy who drew the album covers with Eddie for Iron Maiden, that he just he has the disorder where he just falls asleep halfway through it. Like he'll be drawing something and he'll just fall asleep and then wake back up and get back to drawing.
Yeah, I did not know that. All I know is all their album covers. Oh, I can't remember what album they changed, but when he started drawing all of them, the details in some of those album covers are just amazing. Where you would look and he'd just hide little stuff here and there, just like in their album Somewhere in Time. I think it's the bottom right corner. You look over and there's the TARDIS from Doctor Who just sitting there, and the little things that he always put in his album covers that you would me and my friends would just sit there and look, and we'd come back to school the next day and say, hey, did you see this in the album cover? They're like, no, and where's it at? No, you got to find it. It was they were just so off the wall and so just detailed that it was fun to watch.
I do kind of miss that age in because right now we're in the kind of postmodern era of art where it's like, what is art? Does this count as art? Well, what does it not count as art? But back in the pretty much any time before now, it was, this looks awesome, I'm gonna sell it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not to say like questioning art or standards is bad, but sometimes you just want some good old fashioned nonsense.
Well, and I think there's a big debate amongst art scholars and philosophers and sociologists about this idea of high art versus low art, right? And the idea that there's art for high society and there is art for, everyone else. And the art for everyone else isn't really art. And I think that's a silly position.
Yeah, I do feel like there's art for everybody, but mine typically is the more, I guess, mass consumed type of art. Like I like seeing really high detailed, really stylish, cool images, more than thought provoking minimalist pieces and stuff like that. But I can also understand and respect enough where people can say like, oh, this was my idea and how I put it across. And when you put it all together, it kind of makes sense. Like, again, I can understand it, but it's not for me.
My take is that art is supposed to reflect a society back to itself, right? So it's a society analyzing itself. I don't think overly minimalist pieces actually do that, right? I think they just reflect the viewer back to himself, and that's it. I think if you get complex stuff, like whether it's album covers or whether it's Saturday Evening Post, whether it's Monet, then you start getting things where you're looking at what those ideas mean in a bigger spectrum. But I don't think that the minimalist for the sake of minimalism counts because it's not actually saying much.
I think does the term minimalist come from the amount that there is shown or the amount of effort they put in?
It's supposed to be the amount that's shown, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm actually thinking about what always makes me angry is you see these really cool art pieces in art museums, like the ones that legit, like pieces of modern art that do deserve to be there. Like I had shared an image one day that was in an art museum of a bunch of clocks that were rotated and set just in time with each other so that they'd form shapes once all the clocks rotated in a certain direction, like once all the clocks faces rotated in a certain direction. And it was really, really cool.
Mm.
But then you've just got the pieces, like the blank canvases and stuff like that, or the blank canvas with a dot on it. And it's just disappointing.
Yeah. It's one thing to have a very simple use of line, but that's still conveying an image and a moment and a time and a thought and an idea. But if it's just, I'm not a big, this maybe a bit, I don't really care much for Jackson Pollock, right? His stuff is it's a study of color and how colors play with each other, and that's great. But you're not seeing anything. You're not capturing those moments. You look at Monet or Van Gogh, and there are stories that are hidden within the pictures. There are moments in time, and there are ideas that aren't just you know, this color looks like this next to this color. And I think that's one of the things that you miss with a lot of modern art is the idea that the art's about a time and a place. The art's about the people that are in their experience and about sharing that experience out from there. And that's actually, you know, to tie that into kind of the conversation today, I think one of the fun things about Thrashers is it reflects this. It reflects your love and your passion, right? And why I'm really excited to see where it goes is because you're sharing the things that you've cared about and that have shaped your fun, and you're wanting to imbue that fun into other people. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's like I wanted to make it fun, you know, tell a story and just keep it simple, you know. You know, I didn't want to get overly complex with the whole story and with the whole mood of the whole grand story overall. I just wanted to keep it, you know, simple. Freaking fight for your life, fight for survival, and that's the core of it. You know, everything we do every day, we're just struggling to get to the next one. So,
yeah. And that's one of the beauties of a story like that is you just tell a simple story, you know, A to B. All of the complexity is in that nuance. It's in the background, and the reader, we know the struggle. We fill it in for ourselves. You know,
exactly.
That's why The Walking Dead is still on the air, right? Or at least part of why, right?
Yeah.
Is that like it's such a universal concept, this idea to survive, that whether your metaphor is zombies or disease or, you know, aliens from outer space or the tax man, we all
exactly.
And as far as, you know, to rotate to our other guest, they're looking at Clayman.
Yeah.
Sorry, Clayman. Sorry.
Clayman.
It's okay. In my head.
It's okay.
But with Clayman, the idea that you know, as a sense, a real part of your storytelling drive is to tell the stories that ask the questions about what happens next. You know, what is the future that we have in front of us? And I think that's a really important one too.
Someone needs to make a joke about how the world's turned into a zoo, Clay.
Well, that's the funniest thing is like literally that reminds me, it's like in this one to make it easier on myself, there is, you know, it does take place in a city, a fictional city, which I call Fitorica. There is 4 sections of it. Like actually, I think there's like 4 or 5 sections of the city. You got the Human Villa, Zoo Town, Robot Town, Plant Town, and finally Magic Town, which its borders are closed for the time being.
Spooky.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so like if people ask if it's a zoo, it's like, well, there's a Zoo Town for that.
Yeah.
It looks like we're coming up right on the end of the show.
Yeah.
We are indeed. We are indeed. Let's go and for Thrashers, where can people find it?
They can find it on Indiegogo for the next 55 days. And if they want to get in contact with me or start following me, I'm on Some Old Metalhead on both Twitter and Instagram, or Chromosome 21 Comics on Facebook.
And you can also, if you check out our description, I've added some of those links into the description down there. So go ahead and check that out. So for Clayman, where can people keep tracking and following the evolution of this story, so to speak?
Evolution.
Right now there is currently just the Twitter, which is Hero 22nd. That's capital HER22ND. So
cool. Well, guys, I am of course Reese, and you can follow me at MD Reese. That's MDRHYS on Twitter, where I talk about our various Ideal Comics projects that we have coming up here and that we're working on, including our webcomics and the Indiegogo for Expositioner, Vox Populi, which I didn't talk about today at all, and you all missed out. Matt, what do you got? Have you any announcements to make for yourself yet?
I do have stuff coming up. And if Carl's still in the chat, like he knows about this because I've talked to him a lot about it.
I don't know.
We have stuff coming up eventually, but nothing that I'm going to be showing off right now. But I am working towards it bit by bit, and I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you have out there, man. Your style's got tons of whimsy, and we need more of that in the world, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I love this whole community because it brings back so many things I had considered dead.
Mm. So we kind of talked about Carl. I'm going to give one more shout out to people to check out Hullgrave on Tapas. I'm not going to put a link today. His link was last week. Go back and look at it. And for everybody tuned in, thanks so much for tuning in and joining us here. And
Actually,
everybody likes and throw some money at Thrashers. That project's looking to be real legitimate. And
if everything went according to plan, Carl did upload a new portion of Hullgrave tonight. If you want to go check that out.
Ooh. Why didn't you say that in the first hour?
I had actually completely forgotten about it because I was talking to him earlier today, but like I was focused on talking about Thrashers and the 80s and then Clayman, and then it had escaped me that Carl had put this work into it today.
Okay, I guess I'll forgive you. Anyway, thanks for tuning into Mattriarchy. Until next week, keep loving reading comics.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming on.
I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Anytime. Anytime. Bye.